you and Miss Luna both Miss Rotary today. Cold weather get you, cold wind.
6 o'clock here.
It is time to go to work. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 6 o'clock. Time to begin our November 14th meeting. It's time we'll call ourselves to order. And the first we have is some recognitions on the agenda. And we'll start with item 1, the Citizens Academy graduates.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Thank you for allowing us to present our Citizens Academy graduates for 2017. This will be our 9th graduating class. Before I present the graduating class, let me share a few highlights about the Citizens Academy. The Monroe Citizens Academy is an opportunity for residents of Monroe and those who work in the city of Monroe to gain an insight into the various city departments and what roles the departments play in providing services for our residents and the community. The Academy is an 8-week program which starts in September that will meet normally on every Monday from 5 to about 7:30, and there's no cost to the citizens. But before I introduce the graduates, I have 2 special recognitions to present. And this recognition comes out of the City of Monroe's Diversity Advisory Committee, which really is support for the diversity. It's an initiative that the Diversity Committee puts on, which provides support for human resources and the city manager in a proactive effort for our organization to be truly representative of the community. The Diversity Advisory Committee accomplishes this through interaction, through education, communication, and both for the organization and the community. So I would like to have Lloyd Cabell to come up because Lloyd will be retiring next year. And Lloyd actually has been a participant on the Diversity Committee since it started in 2000. So we would like to give Lloyd the certificate, which honors him. And our next would be James Michael Smith. He will retire next year, and he has served the committee since 2009. I really want to personally thank both of these gentlemen. They have been really supportive of the initiative. They help out with anything that they can for the classes for the Citizens Academy and any other initiatives that we have. So we really thank them for all of their service, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.
So now we're going to present our 2017 class, but the mayor's going to assist me in this process. So our first graduate is Marty Duncan. Our second graduate, Mr. Rodney Duncan. Mrs. Grace Gibbs. And then Carol Ambridge. Lakeisha Medlin. I'm missing one. Lynn Melanson is not here. And this one is for Marissa Robinson. Deanna Romero. Darren Smith. would like to thank you for your participation. You all have been a pleasure. And now you're graduates for 2017.
We certainly appreciate your participation, and I'm sure, but I hope it was enjoyable. And I feel sure you learned a lot about the city that you might not have known. I certainly hope you did, and I hope you enjoyed the program. Thank you for participating.
And our council sits behind you. If you want to shake a hand or two, that would be good, and then we'll move on.
Congratulations. Thank you for participating. Congratulations. Good job.
Thank you.
Congrats.
I learned a lot. I really did.
Congratulations for participating. Congratulations.
Again, sir, thank you for coming.
Congratulations.
Appreciate you all doing this.
Congratulations.
And do it again, absolutely.
Do it again.
Congratulations. Nice to meet you. Thank you so much.
All right, here we go. Parks and Rec. Tanya doing Parks and Rec. Item 2 on the agenda, Parks and Recreation. Tanya, I believe.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we're here to recognize Brandon Bowles. Brandon is a recent graduate of Wingate University with a degree in sports management, and he has been interning with our department for the past 3 months. And hopefully we haven't scared him away from Parks and Recreation. Brandon's did a tremendous job, and he's had the opportunity to gain some valuable experience in the areas of recreation programming and facility management. And during this time, Brandon's not only provided some assistance to our program staff, but he has also been a great mentor and a good role model for our participants. I think Brandon sets a shining example of how to not let one's challenges, whatever they may be, stand in the way of your ambitions and your goals. And tonight, Brandon has asked to say just a few words, if you would permit him, about his experience with our department.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for this opportunity. As Tanya said, I've been working with the Monroe Parks and Rec Department for several months now, and from day one, they have been very gracious enough to allow me to dip my toes in the water with Parks and Rec, and what I've learned from that experience is second to none. This is my first job out of college, and I couldn't have asked for a better organization to work with. And going to the different facilities has allowed me to see that people have different walks of life, and some people may have difficulties at home, but allowing me to be that conduit for positivity and letting them know that no matter what their challenges are, there is a way to be successful, and not to let your challenges hinder you from achieving what you want to achieve. So I thank Tanya, Ryan, and the whole rec department staff for letting me be a part of it, and it'll be a memorable experience for me, and especially going out and allowing me to have that experience and working with different people from different backgrounds, and I thank them for that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you so much for participating.
Thank you for doing this. You're welcome. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your work.
Yeah, that's a good experience.
Good luck, Brandon.
Item 3, Police Department Investigation Unit receiving Law Enforcement Service Award. Who's handling that?
At this time, if we could have the chief and the detective division come on up, we'd like to recognize them. In October of this year, the Violence Prevention Task Force of Union County held its 9th annual luncheon. And this was the first time in the history of this great event that an entire investigations division was nominated for the Law Enforcement Award. And the Monroe Police Department Investigations Unit won the award and was recognized at this event. And we wanted to recognize them tonight. That is an outstanding job and an outstanding accomplishment. And no doubt you all are an asset to the city, and I'm going to let the chief say a few words at this time.
Mayor and council members, I'm proud of this unit. They work extremely hard, and they also investigate the most horrendous crimes that you could imagine that are committed in Monroe. I'm proud of them for day in, day out. They come in, but they work good together as a collective unit. I think their personalities all reflect off each other. The leadership from Captain Green and Lieutenant Lance and Sergeant Morton is second to none, and they work extremely hard. I'm proud of them. I don't want this to go to their head. I hope that they keep working hard, but if you see the smiles on their faces, they genuinely love what they do, and they're a true reflection of the city of Monroe and our organization. Thank you.
Good deal. Thank you.
Good to see you. Congratulations.
Good job. Good job.
Appreciate it.
Good job. Good job. Good job. Good job.
Congratulations.
Good job, sir.
Thank you.
Hey, man. Coach, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing? Good job, sir.
Whatever, Bobby. Get on my face.
Item 4, I'd like to recognize Pete Havanek and Allison, his companion. Pete, just want to say thank you for the job you've done for the past 10 years with the air show. And if I think I'm right in what I'm thinking, say the biggest one that's ever been out there. Would you agree to that, sir? Am I correct?
Saturday's crowd was the largest we've ever had.
There was cars everywhere, people everywhere. And the job that you do, putting that air show together, it looks easy, but I'm sure on the inside guts of it, to coordinate it and what you do to get it coordinated and come out right. Of course, if there's anything there wrong, we didn't see that yet. But I know that
It's truly a team effort there. Every city department had a hand in it, and I couldn't do it without the rest of the city department.
Well, I know that. I just want to say thank you for what you do in the departments that backed you up. It was a good show, and seems like it went off without a hitch. Appreciate what you do. 10 years in the making. Okay. Consent agenda, Larry?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. The City Council uses the consent agenda to consider items that are non-controversial and routine. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the council. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a council member or citizen with the consent of council. The consent agenda contains the following items, the first of which is for the purpose of approving the local ABC board travel policy, which conforms to the city's travel policy, and this is an annual requirement set forth by the state ABC Commission. Item 5 is for the purpose of awarding the purchase contract for an asphalt patching truck to Public Works Equipment Supply, Inc. in the amount of $175,190 through the National Joint Powers Alliance Cooperative Purchasing Program. Item 6 is for the purpose of approving the budget amendment appropriating and designating the funds for the Monroe Police Explorer Program. The donations were made in memory of Police Officer Peretti from these organizations and individuals: Lee Park Baptist Church, Magnum's Used Cars and Parts, Patsy H. Balcom, City of Monroe, TechMet Carbides, and Jeffrey and Michelle King. Item 7 is for the purpose of calling for 4 public hearings to be held December 5th. The first public hearing is to consider the request from Mr. Richardson for the residential incentive grant to construct 2 residential apartments at 301 East Windsor Street. The second and third public hearings are to consider the historic landmark designation requests by the Union County Historic Preservation Commission for the Wolf Ashcraft House located at 600 South Church Street, and for the Sechrist Keziah McCoy Kerr House located at 804 West Franklin Street. And the fourth hearing is to consider a request for conditional district rezoning of property located at 2751 Old Charlotte Highway from general business to conditional district private enterprises. Item 8 is for the purpose of approving the budget amendment in the amount of $18,604.25 for the costs associated with a water main relocation on Shining Light Church Road. Item 9 is for the purpose of accepting an anonymous donation of a 47-inch LCD flat screen television for use at the Ellen Fitzgerald Senior Center, valued at approximately $250. Item 10 is minutes and reports, which are lettered 10A through I. 10A sets forth that there were 4 sets of disbursements by the governing body this period, the first of which was by Mayor Bobby Kilgore, who made 2 disbursements, the first of which was for the Salvation Army Boys and Girls Clubs in the amount of $200, and to the Dixie Decorations in the amount of $549. Second, Mayor Pro Tem Deborah Duncan made 4 disbursements, first of which was for the Safer Communities Ministry in the amount of $1,000, then Christian Family Care Home in the amount of $1,000, Hospice of Union County in the amount of $500, the Council on Aging in Union County in the amount of $500. Third set is Councilmember Gary Anderson made a disbursement to Have a Heart Foundation of Union County in the amount of $100, and Councilmember Slutha Anthony made a disbursement to North Carolina Black Leadership Caucus in the amount of $50. Item 10B is financial reports for September 2017, and as a brief summary, total fund balance is $27,321,000 and change as of October 3rd. The unassigned general fund balance is $2 million and change. The total assigned fund balance is $1.8 million and change. There are 8 sets of minutes lettered 10C through H. 10I is a summary of contracts awarded, change orders approved, and city manager settlement of claims. There were 37 contracts for the period totaling $413,000 and change, and during this period, a claim in the amount of $5,300 was settled and paid by our airport insurer, Chubb, that involved damage to an aircraft owned by McNeil Transport. Item 11 is for the purpose of authorizing the engineering director to convey by letter to Lee Ainsworth, district engineer for NCDOT, that declines the assumption of maintenance responsibility of 2 street sections, East Franklin Street from 5 Points intersection to Highway 74, and Morgan Mill Road from Highway 74 to East Franklin Street. Item 12 is for the purpose of adopting the ordinance allowing the sales of malt beverages, unfortified wine, fortified wine, and mixed beverages beginning at 10 a.m. on Sundays in response to the Rolling Hills Country Club Board's request for this provision. Item 13 is for the purpose of approving the budget amendment in the amount of $550,000 and the reimbursement resolution for installment financing, both of which support the replacement of 2 street sweepers. Item 14 is for the purpose of adopting a resolution authorizing the donation of surplus computer switches and hardware to Central Academy of Technology and Arts that have an estimated value of $500. Item 15 is for the purpose of approving 2 sets of tax releases, the first for the month of September in the amount of $4,838.39, and the second for October in the amount of $15,486.16. These releases were created by a change in reduction in the value for the city of Monroe by the Union County tax assessor. Item 16 is for the purpose of authorizing the fire department's submittal of a Walmart community grant application in the amount up to $2,500. If awarded, proceeds will be used to purchase fire education materials and smoke detectors. Item 17 is for the purpose of approving the contract change order in the amount of $25,000 with Hazen and Sawyer Engineers in support of designing the wastewater treatment plant's improvements. Item 18 is the purpose of approving the sole source equipment purchase in the amount of $339,180 for the replacement of 4 influent pumps and equipment for the wastewater treatment plant. Mayor, members of the City Council, this concludes my synopsis of items placed on the consent agenda for your consideration.
Larry, on item 11, the transportation request abandoned. I know what abandoned means. Are they saying they want to turn it over to the city and for us to do to do the maintenance and road paving?
That was the request, and the staff has recommended that we not do that, and that the council authorize a letter declining that, to reject that request.
Well, I started to say, if we even wanted to take it over, and I don't think we should, before I'd want to take it over, I'd want them to do some maintenance on it, because both roads need paving 2 years ago. So we're not, you saying the letter is going and we're not.
Correct.
Okay, I didn't know the letter was going. I know we fixed and approved some here, because those streets are terrible, and they need to be paved now. And I wish they'd come on down. Of course, not only those two, but several need to be paved, but I certainly don't want to take over something that needs maintenance to it right now. So, okay, that answers my question. Any other question on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Have a motion to approve? Second. Have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved, and we'll go into our regular agenda. Item 19 is a public hearing, a level 3 economic development incentive grant, ATI specialty materials. Item 19, all right, sir.
Mayor, Council, Manager Faison, it's my pleasure to bring before you tonight an economic development incentive grant request by ATI Specialty Materials, previously referred to as Project TIP. As you all know, ATI Specialty Materials has been in Monroe since 1957. They're located on 3 separate campuses, and they employ a little over 1,450 people. They produce specialty metal alloys used in aerospace, energy exploration and refining, and the medical industry. The company is considering its Baker South facility for an expansion project totaling approximately $11 million and the creation of 5 to 10 new jobs paying an average annual wage of $60,000. The project involves the construction of a new manufacturing building and the installation of equipment and machinery that will enable ATI to produce titanium powder. This new product offering will enhance ATI's competitiveness in this sector on a global basis. The company has indicated that incentives are a very important factor for the project, and the project is in competition with locations in Tennessee and South Carolina. Tonight, we're requesting your consideration of a Level 3 Economic Development Incentive Grant in an amount not to exceed $258,500, paid over 5 years, beginning in fiscal year 2021. The grant will be based upon the Union County Tax Office's appraised value each year on the company's anticipated investment of $11 million in that new building and equipment. This recommendation is a deviation from the incentive guidelines in that we are moving this project up 1 level. Given the company's 60-year history of investment in Monroe, its strong wages, and it being an aerospace company, one of our targeted industries, we believe an increase to a level 3 is warranted. Based on this investment and holding all other factors constant, including depreciation, the company would pay estimated ad valorem taxes on the new taxable investment of $322,465 over that same grant period. Of course, actual tax revenue to the city will be based on the current tax rate applied to the assessed value of the investment each year after depreciation. As with all of our projects, we conducted a cost-benefit analysis, and this project shows a 1.81 to 1 return over the first 5 years of the project or the grant period, and a 4.87 to 1 return over the life of the project. We also brought this project to the Union County Board of Commissioners on November the 6th, where similar economic development grants were awarded. Therefore, the Monroe Union County Economic Development staff recommends the award of this Level 3 performance-based economic development incentive grant to ATI Specialty Materials in an amount not to exceed $258,500 to help us secure this $11 million investment. At this time, I'd like to recognize Mr. Scott Vallandingham. Scott is the Director of Engineering at ATI, and he's available to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Council have any questions?
I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead, sir.
I just want to tell you how important and how valuable ATI is to Monroe and Union County, and how honored we are that you guys continue to invest in our community.
Any questions, comments? Hearing none, this is a public hearing.
Move to approve.
public hearing.
gotta close it.
Anyone here who would like to speak in favor?
I jumped the gun.
Hearing none. Anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and take action.
Now I move we approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, I will approve. Thank you, sir, very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Item 20, ordinance declaring certain property, 114 South Crawford Street, unfit. Who's handling that?
It's been tabled, isn't it?
I know, but we gotta let him do it.
Okay.
Doug, Doug Scott.
Mayor and council, staff has requested this item be tabled. It was sold on November 1st, and we're just waiting for the 30-day upset bid process, which will expire December 1st. And that way, at that time, we will advise them of what's going on with the property. The request will be tabled to the January 9th city council meeting.
This is very encouraging. I'm really pleased to see that, especially since we're just not just tearing it down and putting a lien on the property. So this is a good thing. Great job.
All right, good deal. Thank you.
Okay. Have a motion to table?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.
Hearing none, that's tabled till December.
January.
Thank you. January. Item 21, resolution disposal of aerial fire apparatus. Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's a little different position for me this evening. I typically am coming to you asking to buy fire trucks, but I'm actually bringing a recommendation this evening to sell one.
Yeah, but you want one to replace it.
We, as you may recall, several months ago, our ladder truck was damaged in an accident, and in looking at that, it was deemed that it was not worth the truck was not worth what it was going to cost to repair it. We actually had the replacement coming up in this next year's budget. So during this past budget process, we moved that up, and that was approved in the current budget to replace that truck. That truck is on order. The replacement is on order. So this is what I'm bringing to you tonight is a resolution authorizing staff to declare that current truck as surplus property and authorizing staff to sell that truck through an electronic public auction. It is believed that the truck will bring more than $30,000. So since it is expected to bring in excess of $30,000, and we needed council's approval. So there is a resolution there for your approval, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
We have the opportunity to turn down any bid. I mean, we have the opportunity to turn it down if it don't bring the 30,000 or whatever, do we not?
Well, let's say, I think that's just something we would have to take direction from the council and manager on. I mean, if it doesn't, I'm not sure what else we would do with it, so. We have to dispose of it either way.
Well, we don't want to sell it for $12.95.
I'll give 13.
True.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. You say, well, it's worth 30,000. Of course, it's easier for me to say it's worth 30, and I know we can't hold you that. But what I'm saying is, we just don't take the low bid and it come in at $14,000. Is what I'm trying to say.
And we would take.
Are we going to sell it?
We've got the
Actually,
highest
Mayor,
bidder, so.
due to the fact that once we put it up for auction, since there's no reserve, I believe, and I'll defer to the finance director on that, reserve set, even if someone bid less than 30, it would end up being sold for that. So unless we somehow pulled it back, but the problem is you're still going to have to get rid of dispose of the property in some way, shape, or form. So if you don't get the full 30 or more, the reason we've talked about 30,000 is you have a process where if something is valued at less than 30,000, it can then be sold privately. But in this case, the feeling from staff is that it's going to cost, it's valued at more than 30. Therefore, it's got to go through another process, and that's why you hope it would get more than 30. It's like selling a house. You hope you're going to get your asking price. You might get more, you might get less.
But you're not going to sell it for $10,000 either.
Actually, in this case, we would, Mayor, we would.
So it's not probable to put a reserve?
I'm not going to sell my house for $10,000.
That's what I'm talking about.
Definitely not my house.
That's what I'm. It's the
Might sell
same.
your house for $10,000.
Well, my house ain't worth but $300. But what I'm saying is, and I understand what you're saying, I don't mean to be argumentative, we put something up there for bid and you don't get one bid for $9,000, are you gonna sell it for $9,000?
But you know, Bob, if you don't, you're gonna be sitting with it in, down at the,
Okay, move right along, go ahead.
I moved that.
I'm fighting a battle that I'm not gonna win. So I'm sorry.
Okay, I moved that we approve the resolution authorizing, disposal of this 2002 Area 5 apparatus.
I'll second that.
I have a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, no problem.
Thank you, sir. Lisa.
Yeah, okay, I'm coming to that. I ain't got there yet. Item 22, resolution authorizing issuance of a combined enterprise system revenue bond.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Over the past year, several projects have been identified and previously approved for financing through the issuance of debt. Those projects that were previously approved are the John Glenn Water Treatment Plant improvements, which is necessary to improve water supply and reliability and safety, wastewater treatment plant improvements, a wastewater treatment plant chlorine gas scrubber, replacing the lines on Franklin Avenue that were installed in the 1920s, wastewater treatment plant generator replacement, and also influent pumps. And the construction of a corporate community airplane hangar is also included in this financing. All of these projects total $13,905,570. Since a couple of the projects are still estimates, we're asking for an approval of a resolution of a not-to-exceed amount. This amount is on the resolution as $15 million. We will only finance the amount of the project costs and the closing costs in the end, though. A financing schedule has been assembled and would allow for the closing to occur on December 21st. We have had preliminary discussions with the Local Government Commission and with the underwriting team and have worked to begin updating the city's official statement. We are proposing to use the same financing team that we have used in the past, which consists of First Tryon Advisors for our financial advisor. That's David Cheatwood, who's presented here to council. Wells Fargo Securities as our underwriter. Womble Carlisle Sandridge and Rice as our underwriters counsel. Parker Poe as our bond counsel. Wells Fargo Bank as the trustee. And the new person to the team is Wildan Financial Services. And a new utility issue, which this is what a new money issue. You need somebody to certify your revenue projections, and this person will do that for us. Adoption of the resolution tonight will provide us the necessary approval to ratify the action of making the application to the Local Government Commission, which we did last week. And it will also authorize the city attorney and myself to retain contracts with the individuals that I just mentioned to procure this whole financing. Preliminary debt analysis for the issue shows that it will be at about a true interest cost of 3.6%. This is a preliminary number subject to change. The financing will be for 25 years with an average debt service of $875,000 annually. Staff recommends adoption of the initial resolution and authorize the issuance of the Combined Enterprise System Revenue Bonds, Series 2017.
Any questions?
You said you wanted issued in the amount not to exceed 15 million?
Yes, ma'am.
I think I move we approve the resolution and also thanking Lisa and her staff for the job they do.
Okay, I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that's approved. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Item 23, obligation bonds, 2018-23.
This financing is similar to the revenue bonds. We actually tried to include the project that this financing is covering. It's for the energy services, LNG, liquefied natural gas peaking facility. Due to a statutory limitation, we are not able to finance this particular project with revenue bonds. We need to use limited obligation bonds. So we're actually doing two financings. They're running together. We are gaining some efficiencies by using the same team and assembling the documents one time and using them for both issues. But we do have to go through two separate approval processes because they are two separate issues. The project is a plant that will provide emergency natural gas supply in the event of a natural gas transmission line break or it being damaged for any reason. And it will also provide a cost-effective means of supplying peak demand in high needs. The plant was originally approved by council back on July 19th, 2016. We actually purchased a used plant from Baltimore Gas and Electric. We had that transported here to Monroe, and we purchased property on Morgan Mill Road to locate the plant. We'll be putting out an RFP for construction costs at the end of August, or at the end of December rather, to assemble all the parts of the plant, get it up and running. The original estimate for the plant project is $6,555,000. We have no idea what construction costs will come in at. We're asking for a resolution in a not to exceed amount of $8.5 million. Again, we will only finance the cost of the project and the closing costs. We're just trying to cover ourselves in case it comes in higher than our original project estimates. We have had preliminary discussions with the local government commission and with the underwriting team, and are using the same folks to complete this transaction in order to provide those efficiencies. An adoption of the resolution will allow us to complete the necessary steps, which include negotiating this debt under the Second Amendment to the 2009 Installment Financing Agreement. The 2009 Installment Financing Agreement was issued to construct the entire pipeline, and we'll actually make this an amendment to that agreement. The first amendment to the agreement was a refinancing that we did last year. This resolution will also authorize the finance director and the city attorney to retain these professionals, file an application with the LGC, and we'll also need to call for a public hearing to be held on December 5th, 2017, to consider approval of that Second Amendment to the installment financing agreement. Staff does recommend adoption of this resolution and request that council call for the public hearing on December 5th. Any questions?
That will be paid for out of the gas fund, right?
Yes, it will.
Gas system pays for itself, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed?
Call for the
I'm
public
sorry.
hearing. I want to
Yeah.
add that on there.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Hear none, that'll pass. Thank you, Lisa. Item 24, conversion of US Highway 74.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. This item is a request from Congressman Pittenger's office. It was addressed to Mayor Kilgore soliciting support for the conversion of U.S. Highway 74 from Charlotte to Wilmington to an interstate. Brian Kennedy, the legislative director for Congress Pittenger, issued an email request on September 29th, and I think that email is in your packet. And in staff's review, there were some items identified of concern. The items are the impact of the Monroe bypass and US 74 improvements will have on the current US 74 traffic flow. Use of the current US 74 route would devastate the existing commercial corridor with the conversion. The impact of US 74 improvements currently funded by NCDOT slated to begin in 2018. And the Monroe bypass route is I-74, the expressway retaining the toll, and the current US 74 to business US 74, working with the Superstreet concept DOT improvements. This also went to Public Enterprise Committee. The following concerns were expressed there. New funding not to take away from the current transportation improvements, i.e. the comments above regarding US 74 improvements that are planned. Changes in district lines or redistricting. Pittenger represents a part of Monroe, and how will the change impact this initiative? Endorsements, support from other cities in the region, and it seems to be more detrimental than beneficial to Monroe. So a letter has been prepared in consideration of the above and is attached for comment by council. Staff will be present. We're present here tonight to answer any questions. And an email from NCDOT dated October 18th is also provided, and that correspondence from the state traffic engineer outlines it would be up to the department to follow the normal project development process to determine if a new location bypassing or upgrading the existing route would be the preferred route. There are several examples of this in North Carolina and across the country. As far as the expressway, it is likely that any interstate corridor would follow the Monroe bypass and not produce a competing route. So with the approval of council, if you decide to approve the letter of response, we can update it, make any changes, and then hand that over to the mayor for his signature.
So the letter in essence is that we are not in favor.
The letter, and let me see if I could find that. That while Monroe, this is the final paragraph before it outlines a few items. While Monroe is supportive of the idea, additional information would be warranted before our full pledge of support can be granted. And then it goes on to say the following is a brief listing of concerns that is limiting our response. And it outlines those some of the concerns I mentioned.
Why are we supportive of that idea?
Well, it's like it says it's a limited, the idea, the overall idea we can support, but the details we need to find out more before we give them any more support.
I wouldn't even support the idea.
Why don't they just call the bypass interstate? What this interstate is?
It's your call. We could put in there we don't support the idea. That's why we're here.
I don't support that.
No, I don't.
That's why we're bringing it here to you.
If they want an interstate, why don't they just use the bypass they put through and call it interstate and let it be an interstate? How much better interstate could you have than what they put through?
I would suggest, and I guess I put it in the form of a motion, that whatever letter we send does not state that we in any way support the idea or take a poll. I think majority of us don't even support the idea.
Okay.
No need to plan, but just let them know up front, no, we don't support the idea.
I'll second the motion.
You making a motion?
Yes,
Okay, go ahead and make a motion.
I just did.
Did you get that? Did you
I
get?
got it.
Oh, you got the, okay, I heard what you said, but I didn't know you were making it in a form of a motion. Okay, I have a motion and do I have a second?
Councilmember Kazai, second.
Good. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
We can take care of that. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Item 25, interlocal agreement with Union County Board of Education.
Thank you, Mayor. This is something that's an outgrowth of meetings that you've had with the Union County Public School Board of Education. As you know, there were meetings in March of this year between Superintendent, Mayor Kilgore, council members, and the manager to discuss ideas for helping the Monroe cluster of schools, which have experienced challenges over the last few years. There were some initial discussions about potential ideas, but there were ideas that the city would not be able to fund under state law. But at a May 31 joint meeting of this council and the Board of Education, the board discussed a plan to house a health science academy at Monroe Middle School. The idea is they would partner with Carolina's healthcare system to start the program and open up health science labs. So during the budget process, you outlined and identified some funds that could be used for support of such a program, or a program that UCPS and the Board of Education would put together, as long as it met state law requirements. In talking with the school system as well as the Board of Education, we're able to determine that under one provision of 168-209, there was a way to provide support. And it is now what you have in front of you, which is for $200,000, the city would agree to provide $200,000 to UCPS for this fiscal year only to help support the Monroe cluster through their health sciences program. The key would be that the funding would be used to increase the number of nurses working in their schools within the city of Monroe, so that each school would have a full-time nurse, and they would provide health services to the students attending those schools. Also, the Board of Education would hire additional social worker at each school within the cluster to address the emotional health needs of the students. So given that, that is something that you are permitted to do under state law. Direct support of education, as council has heard, is something you're not permitted. But because this is supporting a health program, this is something you are permitted to do under state law. Because of the timing of the request, this matter could not go to the General Services Committee or any other committee, and so we brought it to you for your consideration. If you choose to approve it, we would ask you to approve the resolution, which approves the interlocal, because this would be an interlocal agreement between the city and the Board of Education. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
This is a year-to-year thing.
This is a one-year thing.
Well,
This is
okay.
only
Same
for
thing.
this fiscal year. Yes, sir. So the funding would be provided within 30 days after if you approve it tonight, it'll be 30 days after the Board of Education approves it. And then the funding would only be for this fiscal year, but they will be required to provide you with quarterly reports and also full accounting of the funding in September of next year after the end of the fiscal year.
Okay, question, just
Wait a minute.
to put it in everyday terms.
Yeah.
We can't give money directly, but we can pay to defray this cost that they would incur, and that way we're still having them.
That's correct. For example, we can't pay teacher salary,
Right.
but we can help defray costs related to health programs. It's just state law doesn't let you directly support education. So we can't buy school supplies for them, but we could buy things that help with a health program.
I'd like to make that
We can look at
motion.
it from year to year.
I will second it.
And I'd like to make that motion and also the resolution, including the resolution.
I second that also.
Have a motion, a second. Any questions, concerns, comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, that will approve.
Mayor, before we go to public comment period, can I have just a second, please?
You may.
I'd like to say that this is my last council meeting. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve the citizens of Monroe, both as the police chief and as a council member. And I appreciate the time. I appreciate working with this council. It's been very interesting, and I think that we've made some good progress, and we've done some good initiatives for the city of Monroe. Also would like to thank our city employees who do an outstanding job every day. And having said that, I'd like to make my final motion, and that is that for the last several years, we have given our hardworking city employees the day before Thanksgiving off, and also we've given them an extra day at Christmas. So I'd like to make the motion that we give the Wednesday before Thanksgiving and also the Friday before Christmas, to have 3 days for Christmas and 3 days for Thanksgiving, and I'll make that motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that'll pass. Okay, item 26.
Mayor.
Yes.
I got a problem back there.
What?
Brian Bowen does not want off that third position.
Duly noted.
Well, that doesn't,
You're in charge, on that
that
day.
covers everybody but Brian and Peter, the airport man.
You're welcome.
Item 26 is public comment period. I have one gentleman signed up, Dan Irvin. Recognize you this time, sir. If you come to the podium, please. Give us your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Daniel Irvine. I reside at 2914 Fox Den Drive here in Monroe. I've been a resident here exactly 1 year now after living in Florida for 25 years. We bought a brand new house, and one of the first things I noticed when I moved in was the water tastes truly like dirt/mud. So I became a member of a community app on the internet called nextdoor.com. And I noticed they had an area there where you can post a poll. So I decided to put a little sentence in there and said, basically, how many of you feel that the water in Monroe, city of Monroe, tastes dirty? And I was maybe not so surprised, but we received 176 votes. 80% of them, this is the results of the website, not my results. 80% of them did agree it was dirty/muddy. What I decided to do was call the water department, and I was referred to a gentleman. I later found his name. I'm sorry, he's a superintendent, and I forgot his name, but if I heard it, I would know who he is.
Russ Colban.
I'm sorry?
Russ Colban.
Now I forgot it, but needless to say, I spoke with him for about 15, 20 minutes. Basically, he said, well, we receive approximately 7 complaints per month, most during the month of July. And I asked him, well, what do you do about the complaints? He said, well, we have a panel that does a weekly test, and we respond based on the results of that panel's recommendations. And basically, nobody has complained it was so bad that they need to do anything, which I find to be appalling. If any of you, I don't know what the requirement is for a city council, but if you live in the city of Monroe, there's no way anybody can deny that. Honestly, not one person can deny that tap water tastes like dirt. It really does. So, as I spoke to him more, he indicated this panel that they have consists of city employees, because I asked, how can I get on that panel? He said, well, the panel consists of city employees. Well, I think that leans the favoritism toward the city for answers. I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm just here as a resident of the city of Monroe to say something needs to be done.
Okay, of course, I'm not familiar with all the panels and so forth either, but certainly talk with the city manager and someone will be back in touch with you.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hey, Larry, have somebody go out to his house and
Yeah, well,
check his.
that's what I was going to suggest, but yes, we'll have somebody to check that, absolutely.
Thanks. Last thing, sir, I have a copy of the printout of the comments that were received, and I'm willing to leave that with you all. Pros and cons, some are indifferent, but the majority.
Yes, sir, I'll be glad to take it, sir. If someone will be in touch with you and probably visit your house and go up.
I appreciate that.
Yes, sir, thank you, sir. Anyone else who'd like to address the council, public comment period? If not, at this time, we'll go in closed session. Will somebody read the closed session minute?
I hereby move to go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute Section 143.318.11A6 to consider the qualification, competence, performance, character, fitness of an individual public officer or employee.
Mayor, you need a second for that motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Aye.
I'll second it.
We'll be going into closed session. Thank you very much.
Which one?